Hey everyone, the numbers are in for August of 2024 for the Panama City Beach real estate market. I'm Craig Duran with the Duran Group at Berkshire Hathaway HomeServices. A little different venue. We're just back from family vacation to Alaska. Fantastic. If you ever have a chance to go, I highly recommend it. It's August the 8th, and playing a little catch up and looking at the market numbers from July. I've just started to absorb those, so I wanted to go through with you now what I see in the month of July. Before I do that, keep in mind August 12th for us locally, August 17th nationally. The new rules are in effect having to do with real estate commissions. If you have any questions about that, please reach out. Again, my direct cell or direct line is 850-290-0417. This is going to affect everyone across the country. A little bit different state by state because some states have already been operating in what for us is a new way. The one thing I would tell anybody to keep in mind if they're getting ready to work on a real estate transaction, buying or selling from now going forward, unless something changes, just be very leery of anyone that tells you that this is how it has to be. I think on the seller side, if you're selling something, there are probably some options. I think you need to understand what the rules are. There are some options, I think, on how to navigate that. On the buyer side, just be prepared that a good real estate professional will be consulting with you to explain their services, and will be asking you to sign an agreement before you look at anything in person to establish a relationship and whatever the fee structure may look like. So if you have any questions on that, I've had some video out on this already, though I'll have much more out on it soon. But let's get to the numbers. Before I get into too deep, the month of July, we're going to go through vacation rental type properties, so condos, some Gulfront houses, Gulfront attached units. We'll also look at traditional residential. And really in both markets, it isn't surprising to see the month of July slow down somewhat because of the activity in July, because think about both situations. In vacation rental properties, so many of these properties in Panama City Beach are heavily rented in July. So even the most eager, serious buyer will have a hard time getting in to physically view all of the things they might want to see. So the process for a lot of people gets put on hold. Same thing in traditional residential to a point, especially any buyers who have families, have children who are thinking about moving. We're right at the beginning of the school year in a lot of different places. And so a lot of times those moves have already been made. So in both situations, it's not terribly surprising to see July numbers show that we've slowed down somewhat. What would be surprising is to see if we see something that's sort of an explosion, little precursor to what we may look at right now. So let's get into it. First of all, we'll start with, I believe, condos. Yeah, it's the Gulfront condo market. Going into July, again, remember from last month, March of 2023, we had been at 1.45 months of inventory. Remember, 5 or 6 months is about a neutral market. We've been slowly trending up since then, which means the market is slowing down. The pace of things is slowing down. And we've really exploded over the last few months. In July, we went from 13.88 across the beach to 17.73. So here's that slowdown I was just speaking about. Not terribly surprising to see it creep up a little bit. One thing that did surprise me a little bit is if you look at the condos that were built since 2005, just the newer buildings. And once this chart loads, this is what surprised me. We had been at 18 months of inventory in June, and we exploded to 40 months of inventory in July. Again, not terribly surprising because of the time of year that we would slow down some. It just means we're almost at, over 3.5 years of inventory currently based off of the rate of sales in July. And lastly, on the condo market, I'll load the chart to give you, again, for those of you who haven't seen, the 10-year perspective. And I would go back further if I could, but this is just how eye-opening these numbers are. Since March of 2015, Here's the beginning of COVID. This was a slowdown, and we are 4 times slower than that in July over the last 10 years. So a couple of things, if I'm predicting the future somewhat in the condo market, that's going to put some even more pressure on pricing than is already there, unless we see some things pick up. We are hearing some things that um, we may have some interest rate relief coming soon. The presidential election, we're already starting to probably have a little more clarity now than we had a couple months ago. So certainly there's a possibility that things are trending up throughout the year. Also a very possible trending up, meaning could start to pick up again. There's a very good possibility that in the next month or so, I still receive a lot of phone calls of people getting ready to put their unit on the market for sale. And if that's the case, and we don't see any buyer pickup, that number could stay in that range. And if that's the case, we still could see pressure on pricing. If we look at the detached single family market, so this is any detached single family unit, Panama City Beach, could be a vacation rental, could be residential. We'll start here. And that market actually has done pretty well. April, May, June, July, we went from 8.1 months of inventory to 5.58 months of inventory. So seemingly, this is about a neutral market. One thing, though, if you start playing around with the numbers, let me show you this. Let's say that we want to look at detached single family units built before 2020. And why would we be doing that? We're essentially saying we don't want to look at new construction sales. What's it look like in new construction? You can see a little bit higher than that, 7.22 months of inventory in the detached single family market. So new construction is doing a little bit better. And now you can really start to break it down a number of different ways. If we go between 500 and 800,000 on resales, so anything that isn't very new, 7.48, so still not bad. My point of that on the different charts so far is that we can look at things globally, meaning the whole market, but you really have to, depending on what it is that you own, these numbers could be very, very different. If we're looking at the Gulf front market, not including condos, this is interesting because in a couple months here, so July, January, February, March, June, it looks like we didn't even have a sale to pick up on this chart. Look over here, we're dealing with some much higher numbers here. March, we were at 30 months of inventory. May, we improved to 15 months of inventory with a sale or two. In July, with probably only one sale, 35 months of inventory. So the Gulf front market, not including condos, is extremely slow. Not terribly surprising if you understand that real estate markets generally cool from the top down and they heat up from the bottom up. So to see that $800,000 homes, detached single families hovering around 6 or 7 months of inventory, a little better market, and that the more expensive things on the Gulf much slower, that means we're here and markets probably pick up as we go forwards or move along. So last couple of points, we're encouraged by the talk of interest rate relief, any bit of interest rate relief, and we've already seen rates come down some, but especially if the Fed makes any moves, especially a few moves over the next quarter or two, could really help gain momentum. I think we all, once we have the presidential election, that gives everyone some clarity on what fiscal policy may look like, at least for the short term. That gives some sense of stability to things potentially. So we're keeping an eye on that. I think the general consensus of what I'm hearing, none of us have a crystal ball, but any interest rate relief is going to help somewhat. I'll be curious to see here locally on our vacation rental market, especially the condo market, how things shake out, because at the moment, especially that 40 months of inventory in the newer buildings, that's a lot of pressure on pricing to continue to move down. So I'll keep you updated. Thanks for watching. Again, if you can ever make it to Alaska, it's phenomenal. If you have any questions for me specifically, again, 850-290-0417. Thanks for watching.